The storm rolled across the black sky, lightning tearing open the clouds above the Atlantic spaceport. Captain Elias Ward stood on the observation deck, his eyes fixed on the incoming ship. It wasn't on any registry. Flight logs, no clearance. Codes, no official announcement. Yet here it was, descending through the atmosphere with engines burning blue fire. Its hull scarred as if it had clawed its way out of a war. The watchers on the deck whispered nervously. This was no human design. The lines of the vessel were alien, its structure asymmetrical, like something grown rather than built. And it was coming in fast, too fast for a peaceful visit. Inside the command tower, alarms stayed silent, not because the situation wasn't dangerous, but because no one wanted to panic before they understood what they were dealing with. The ship landed with a heavy thud that rattled the observation windows. The air shimmered from the heat, and a long, low hiss rolled across the landing field as the vessel's doors began to open. Every soldier in the port raised their weapon, forming a cordon around the pad. From the shadows inside, figures emerged, armored, with weapons strapped to their sides. But they weren't attacking. They moved slowly, deliberately, almost as if carrying something fragile. Elias squinted. They weren't soldiers, at least not just soldiers. Each alien held a small, enclosed pod transparent, with fluid inside, and in each pod, something moved. Small shapes, breathing alive. The first alien stepped forward, lowering the pod carefully onto the metal deck. Its voice, deep and distorted, echoed through a translator. "We have brought them to you. Only you can keep them alive." The words hung in the air like a strange, cold mist. Elias felt his stomach tighten. No one in the port knew what them was, but they all sensed it wasn't going to be something simple. The pods were lined up, one after another until there were 20 of them. The creatures inside weren't like anything humans had seen. Before, they had sleek bodies, too many eyes, and an aura that made the skin prickle just looking at them. One moved abruptly, pressing against the glass, its gaze locking on Elias. The translator clicked again. "They are the young of the Krelter. You know the name." And yes, every human there knew it. The Krelter were the most feared species in the galaxy, a predator race whose warriors could tear through entire fleets. No one survived meeting a fully grown one in combat. So why in all the universe were they here handing over their young to humans? Elias took a step forward, his mind spinning with possibilities. Was this a trick? A way to plant biological weapons inside Earth's defenses? Or worse, were these creatures somehow more dangerous as infants than as adults? He glanced at the alien leader, searching for a hint of deception, but what he saw was something stranger. Fear. True fear. The kind that made even a deadly predator hesitate. The alien spoke again, its voice lower now. "They will die if we keep them. It will destroy everything if left alone. You are the only ones who can teach them control." Elias almost laughed. Control? Humans teaching control to the galaxy's deadliest species? But the alien didn't look like it was joking. The creatures in the pod stirred again, some curling into tight coils, others pressing closer to the glass as if, sensing the human's presence, a wave of unease passed through the soldiers. No one wanted to be anywhere near those things. Yet there was also a strange pulse, something about their movement, the way they reacted to human voices made it seem. Possible? Dangerous? Yes. But possible. Elias turned to the alien leader. "And if we refuse," the answer came instantly without pause. "Then we release them here, now. None of your cities will stand." There was no threat in the voice, only a grim statement of fact. Elias knew then that this was no negotiation. Humanity had been chosen for reasons no one yet understood. The rain began to fall, hissing against the hot metal of the landing pad. Somewhere deep inside the port, orders were already being given. Secure the pods. Clear an isolation zone. Prepare containment teams. But Elias couldn't shake the feeling that containment was a dream. These things weren't prisoners. They were guests. And something told him that in a few years, when they were grown, no cage in the galaxy would hold them. As the Krelter ship lifted back into the sky, disappearing into the storm clouds, Elias looked down the row of alien young. They stared back, unblinking. And for the first time in his career, he felt like he was looking not at enemies, not at allies, but at something humanity would either save or unleash.
Under the pale light of Earth's moon, the great silver vessel hovered over the Pacific coast, its massive shadow swallowing the shoreline.
The sight was enough to freeze the breath of those who saw it. No one knew if the ship came in peace or for something far more dangerous. But one thing was certain: it hadn't been invited. The world's governments scrambled to make contact, their messages sent in a dozen languages. But the reply that finally came was in perfect English, cold and direct. "We are here for the children." The message sent ripples of fear through every home and every street. Parents clutched their sons and daughters tightly. Soldiers readied their weapons, unsure if they were preparing for war or for something stranger. The ship remained silent. After that, its silver hull reflecting the moonlight like a calm predator waiting for the perfect strike. Only after hours of stillness did a small section open, and from it descended a group of figures tall, armored and carrying what looked like cages. But inside those cages were not human children. They were alien infants, wrapped in shimmering fabrics, their large eyes watching the humans with quiet curiosity. The soldiers lowered their weapons in confusion. This wasn't the attack they expected. The alien leader stepped forward, its voice carrying through a strange device on its chest. "Your species has been chosen," it said. "Our young will live among you. You'll protect them." There was no question mark in that sentence. It was a command, not a request. The humans stood frozen, struggling to process what they were hearing. Out of all the planets in the galaxy, why Earth? Why humans? And why would the so-called most dangerous species in the known universe place their vulnerable young in the hands of a race they barely knew? The leader seemed to sense the confusion. "Our enemies are many," it continued. "Our children cannot survive with us, but with you, they will be safe." The words made little sense. Humanity was not known for being the strongest, fastest, or most advanced. Yet the alien's tone carried a strange certainty, as if humans possessed something that no other race in the galaxy could offer. Still, the unease in the air grew thicker. If these aliens truly were the deadliest species in the universe, then anyone daring enough to attack their young would also be fearless, and humanity would be standing directly in the line of fire. Despite the protests of military leaders and scientists, the aliens began placing the strange infants into human arms. Mothers who had come to the scene out of curiosity suddenly found themselves holding creatures that were both fragile and unnervingly intelligent. One woman swore the tiny alien in her arms spoke to her without moving its mouth, a single word echoing in her head: safe. But safety seemed like an impossible promise. Even as the aliens handed over the last of their young, one of the human generals stepped forward. "If we do this," he warned, "you must know, if harm comes to us because of this, we will not stand idly by." The alien leader's face shifted into something almost like a smile. "That," it said, "is exactly why we chose you." Then, without another word, the massive ship began to rise. Its engines were silent, its movement impossibly smooth. The last thing the humans saw before it vanished into the clouds was the leader raising its hand, not in farewell, but in what felt like a warning. The crowd below stood in stunned silence, the alien infants now crying softly in their arms. Somewhere in the darkness above, an unspoken truth began to take shape. Whatever danger had forced these beings to entrust their children to humanity was coming. And when it arrived, the entire galaxy would learn why humans had been chosen. The first few days after the aliens left were uneasy, like the world was holding its breath. News channels called it the Guardian Ship Pact, though no one had actually agreed to anything. Across Earth, alien infants were now in human homes, some placed with military families, others with scientists, and a few simply taken in by ordinary citizens who had been in the right or wrong place at the right time. Governments argued endlessly about whether to treat them as guests, wards, or potential threats. But there was no time for a clear decision. Strange signals began to appear on deep space scanners, signals that didn't match anything human or alien to Earth's records. At first, Scientists believed they were just echoes from the departing ship. But then the patterns changed. They were sharp, deliberate, and pulsing like a heartbeat. The origin was moving fast, and it wasn't heading toward the aliens who had left. It was heading toward Earth. Military satellites picked up faint images, dark, jagged ships with shapes that looked more like predators than machines. Unlike the graceful silver vessel that had come before, these ships radiated hostility in every movement. The analysts didn't need to guess they knew predators when they saw them. And these were coming in a pack. The governments tried sending warnings to the alien leaders who had left their children here, but no reply came. It was as if the galaxy's most dangerous species had vanished into the void, leaving humanity holding something that someone else very much wanted. The tension was unbearable. Parents who had once stared into the big, unblinking eyes of the alien infants with wonder now felt a creeping dread. Why were these predators after them? What did the children mean to them? Why would they come? To Earth, a planet barely capable of defending itself against such forces. The first sign of trouble came from a small coastal town in Alaska. Residents reported seeing lights in the sky, fast darting movements that made no sound. The local military base scrambled jets, but by the time they arrived, the lights had vanished, leaving behind scorch marks in a forest clearing and a strange metallic residue that pulsed faintly, as though it were alive. Among the debris, they found a single torn fragment of cloth from the blanket of one of the alien infants. It was wet, as though it had been torn from a struggle. But every child was accounted for, except one. That night, every military channel on Earth received a transmission. It wasn't in any human language, yet the message was somehow understood. Return what is ours or the hunt will not end. The voice was cold and relentless, the kind of tone that didn't just promise violence, it promised extinction. The alien infants reacted strangely when the message played. Many began to cry, not in fear, but in a strange low tone that almost resembled a warning call. A few of them even began to glow faintly, their eyes reflecting a strange light that seemed unnatural. It was as if they knew exactly who was coming. Earth's leaders realized then that this wasn't just a coincidence. The silver ship hadn't chosen Earth for kindness or diplomacy. It had chosen humans because they would fight. And now, with the predators closing in, humanity was about to be tested in a way it never had before. The skies would soon burn, and the whole planet would learn the truth about the children they had been given. Dark shapes moved across Earth's orbit, blotting out the stars like a shadow falling over the world below. The fleet of predator ships had arrived. Their hulls were jagged and scarred, built for speed and destruction rather than diplomacy. The moment they entered Earth's space, alarms screamed through every command center on the planet. Commander Elias Ward stood on the bridge of the orbital defense station, eyes fixed on the incoming fleet. The ships emitted a low growl, unsettling sound that made even the hardest soldiers uneasy. "They're not here to negotiate," Elias said quietly. "They're here to take back what was stolen." The Predator ships moved fast, weaving through Earth's satellite defenses. With deadly precision, laser cannons fired, but the attackers dodged with ease. A warning flashed. One of the Predator ships released swarms of small drones that spread like dark clouds, disabling communication satellites and plunging parts of the planet into blackout back on the ground. Human forces scrambled to mobilize. Fighter jets rose into the sky, missiles locked onto enemy vessels. But the Predator's speed and tactics were unlike anything Earth had faced. Every strike seemed to be anticipated and countered. Meanwhile, the alien infants, now in secure facilities, began to show signs of something new. Their eyes glowed brighter, and some started to communicate with each other in strange pulses of sound. Scientists monitored their brainwaves, noting patterns that suggested heightened awareness. It's almost like they were preparing for something. Commander Ward received a direct transmission from the leader of the Predator fleet. The message was clear. "Return the young, or Earth will burn." Elias's voice was steady when he replied, "We protect what is ours now. If you want your children back, you'll have to fight." The battle escalated quickly. Predator ships launched volleys of plasma and missile strikes. Earth's defenses responded with everything they had, but the fight was brutal and chaotic. Cities on the ground felt the shockwaves from orbital blasts, and civilians took cover as sirens blared. Amid the chaos, the alien infants were moved to deeper shelters. And there, something unexpected happened. The smallest of the infants, the one who had been missing, opened its eyes fully for the first time. Its gaze met a human caretaker's, and for a moment, time seemed to freeze. It was clear now these children were not just helpless creatures. They were the key to survival, and perhaps the galaxy's future. The air was thick with smoke and tension as Earth's battered fleet regrouped in orbit. Commander Elias Ward stood on the bridge of the flagship Defiant, eyes scanning the chaos through the thickened viewport. The Predator ships circled, waiting for a chance to strike again, but this time, something was different. Inside the secure facility deep beneath the surface, the alien infants were no longer silent. Their glowing eyes pulsed rhythmically, and their bodies seemed to hum with a strange energy that humans couldn't yet understand. Scientists and soldiers watched in awe and fear as the children began to respond to commands not spoken, but thought. The bond between human caretakers and the Predator young was growing stronger by the hour. Elias received an urgent message from the facility commander. The children, they're ready. They want to fight. That was impossible. Infants shouldn't be fighters. But as the Defiant prepared for the next wave of attacks, Elias realized humanity's survival depended on accepting the impossible. The Predator young, though small, moved with lightning speed and strength. When they were brought to the battle, stationed alongside human Marines, their presence changed the mood instantly. Where humans hesitated, these children acted without fear. Tearing through enemy drones with claws that sparked against armored plates, during the next enemy assault, the Predator young leapt into action, swirling around the battlefield like shadows. They disabled enemy ships with savage precision. Their energy pulses disrupted the Predator fleet's communication and weapon systems. Turning the tide in humanity's favor, Elias watched in disbelief as the alien infants fought not as mindless beasts, but as intelligent, loyal guardians. They were protecting not only themselves, but the humans who had become their protectors. But victory came with a price. The Predator leader's voice echoed through the Defiant's comm system, warning that reinforcements were arriving in Armada, larger and more terrifying than anything Earth had faced. The battle for Earth was only beginning. The skies burned with fire and steel as the massive alien Armada darkened Earth's orbit. The sheer scale of the enemy fleet was overwhelming hundreds of Predator warships, each bristling with deadly weapons and shielded by technology beyond human comprehension. Commander Elias Ward gripped the console tightly, his knuckles white, but his resolve unbroken. This was the moment humanity had prepared for. Below, in the fortified bunker, the alien infants huddled together, their glowing eyes brighter than ever. The bond between them and the humans had deepened into something unbreakably unity forged in the fires of war. As the first blast struck the planet's defenses, the children surged forward, their bodies radiating an energy field that distorted space itself, creating a shield that absorbed the enemy's fury. On the front lines, human Marines fought side by side with the Predator young. The combination of human ingenuity and alien power was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. They moved as one, every strike coordinated, every defense calculated. The enemy fleet faltered, unable to penetrate the Alliance's fierce determination. Amid the chaos, Commander Ward made a critical decision. Using the planet's storm systems, he ordered a daring strike that disabled the Armada's flagship. With its command crippled, the enemy fleet began to retreat. But the cost was heavy. Many ships were lost. Earth's defenses lay in ruins. As silence fell over the battlefield, a broadcast echoed across the galaxy, carried on every channel. It was a message of defiance, hope, and warning. We are the guardians of what others fear. We protect the future, no matter the cost. The alien infants, now recognized as the last hope of their species, vanished into the hidden depths of the galaxy protected by the humans who had risked everything. For them, in Earth, once a small blue planet, had become a beacon of strength, unity, an unexpected guardianship. The galaxy would never forget the day humanity stood with the deadliest young, and proved that even the fiercest monsters can have guardians.